When it comes to tech and gadgets, lately I've been feeling nostalgic. It doesn't matter how old you are, I think we all feel this connection to the tech that was around when we were kids. And for me, that era was the 90s and early 2000s, back when tech was beige. And like any millennial with a home office, I put my nostalgia on display, collecting pieces of tech from my childhood and placing them on nice little shelves to collect dust. But recently, I decided to take things a step further. I got this idea to put together a desk setup that had the look and feel of the 90s, but with all the modern tech that I need. It's taken me several months to find all of the right pieces of gear, but I think I've finally done it. This is my 90s inspired desk setup. Let's break it down. A portion of this video is sponsored by Squarespace. I want to start with the keyboard because this keyboard was actually the inspiration for this entire project. This is the 8BitDo Retro Mechanical Keyboard M Edition. If this keyboard looks familiar to you, that's because this is a tribute to the legendary IBM Model M keyboard, which is considered by many to be the grandfather of all mechanical keyboards. And I really dig what 8BitDo has done here because on the outside, this keyboard looks just like the Model M. It's got that beige on beige color scheme, and the keycap labels look like they came from the 1980s. But under the hood, this thing is a modern gaming keyboard. The switches are the Kalebox V2s, which means they're super clicky and responsive. And like any modern keyboard, you get high-speed wireless and Bluetooth connectivity. There's even a volume knob that looks like it fell off a microwave from 1997. 8BitDo has been producing these retro keyboards for a few years now, but their original designs were tributes to game consoles, which are cool, but they never really fit the vibe I was going for in my office. These retro keyboards also come with these oversized buttons that you can connect to the back of the keyboard to do macros and other weird stuff with, but my parents' computer from the 90s didn't have big buttons, so I'll have to figure out another use for this thing in a future video. Right now, let's move over to the mouse. This is the Low-Free Touch, and it's one of the most unique mice I've tested. And I know I'm cheating a little bit here. A real mouse from the 90s would look like this, but the Low-Free mouse has a 90s inspired design with modern performance and some really unique features that I've never seen on a mouse before. It does all of the basic stuff, like having an adjustable DPI and Bluetooth and high-speed wireless connectivity. Then things get a bit more interesting. The left and right click on this mouse are basically keyboard keys, like what you'd find on a mechanical keyboard. This means you can remove the keycaps and put on custom keys for your mouse click if that's what you want to do. Though I will mention the keys that it comes with have been modified to make them a bit more comfortable and to play nicely with the scroll wheel. So if you want to mod this thing, you may need to cut into your keycaps just a little bit. The scroll wheel is made of a soft gray rubber that actually feels like it came from a 90s mouse, and you also get this tiny display on top of the mouse which shows battery level and your DPI settings. This is actually a really nice feature, and I'm surprised there aren't more enthusiast mice out there with displays built into them. Overall, I really like the design and features of this mouse, but I do have two small complaints. One, it is a bit small. Then again, I do have massive hands, so maybe you won't have this issue. But the other issue I found during testing was that the mouse would go to sleep after a few minutes of inactivity, which is normal. But to wake it back up, I would actually have to click the mouse. Most mice just turn on if you wiggle the cursor. So it's a minor issue, but worth mentioning. Up next, I've got a few 90s inspired desk accessories, but first, I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace allows everyone to create a beautiful website. You can choose from professionally curated layouts and styling options to build a unique website that is optimized for every device. Then you can easily launch your website and get discovered fast thanks to integrated and optimized SEO tools. So your website shows up more often and for more people. And thanks to Squarespace's fluid engine, it's never been easier to get creative with your web design. You have the freedom to customize every design detail with an easy-to-use drag and drop interface that works on desktop and mobile. And if you're interested in launching your own store, Squarespace makes checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. You can accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay in all eligible countries. And your customers have the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. So if you're interested, head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/workfromhype for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Back to my setup, where I've got one more retro input device to show you guys, but first I wanted to share a few 90s inspired accessories that I've added to my setup. First is this tiny computer, which is actually an Apple Watch charger. I wear an Apple Watch most days, but if I'm doing a lot of typing at my desk, I usually take it off my wrist, and thanks to this little dock and charger, my Apple Watch gets charged and turns into a tiny tribute to the original Macintosh when I'm at my desk. It's fun, it's simple, and it fit perfectly with the rest of my 90s setup. However, I realized that this clock is so small that I couldn't read it from across the room, so I needed a bigger desk clock. There are hundreds of retro desk clocks on Amazon, but I found a model that was more or less perfect for this setup. This vintage-inspired clock looks the part. There's a wood finish, and the LCD display looks like it came from the 80s, giving you the time, date, and temperature. It's so authentic, it even has an FM radio in case you still listen to FM radio at your desk, but the reason why I got this specific model is there's also a MagSafe charger embedded in the top of the clock, giving me a nice place to set my phone and charge when I'm at my desk. This mixture of old and new is what this project was all about for me, and the final item in this setup may just be the best example. This is the 8BitDo Retro 18 Mechanical Numpad M Edition, and you guessed it, the M Edition label means it was designed to match my keyboard I showed you earlier in this video. It's got that same beige on beige color scheme that takes me back to my childhood, but with satisfying mechanical switches and high-speed wireless, so it functions like a modern numpad. But to me, the standout feature is the calculator mode. If you click this blue button, the numpad turns into a standalone calculator with its own LCD display. It sounds a bit goofy, I know, but it's actually kind of useful. Instead of having to open a new calculator window on my PC, I can just do the math right here without minimizing any windows. You know, like an actual calculator. And yes, I know, it's a gimmick, but it's the exact type of gimmick I was looking for this 90s inspired setup. And I dig the overall design of this numpad. It really looks like a device that came from the 90s. Really, the only complaint I have with this numpad is that 8BitDo does not provide any sort of software to program macros and shortcuts. This device is intended to be a calculator and numpad, and that's it. Trust me, I tried. And that's gonna do it for today's video. This is my 90s inspired desk setup to satisfy my nostalgia while also being great for productivity and even some gaming. I hope this video helped you find some fresh ideas for your own setup, and as always, thank you for watching Work from Hype, and I will catch you all in the next one.